Hello ladies and gentlemen, Richard here, the creator of the Top Hat Gaming Man. And for you lucky people today, I have decided that I'm going to go through with you an old anecdote and discuss with you all perhaps my deepest game collecting regret ever. This decision I made was absolutely terrible. It was a complete joke, a disgustorous moving fact. So join me as we discuss a moment in my life that I continue to look back on and just go, oh, why on earth did I do that? If you've been watching this channel for a while, you will know, or even you'll be able to bloody see, that I used to really be into game collecting. It was a big part of my life, just going around boot sales, going second-hand shops, etc., and slowly building up my collection. I've stopped now because the pricing has just got absolutely ridiculous. It's not a fun hobby, in my opinion, anymore, especially if you used to be able to go down the boot sales and buy games for 50p to £1 each. That's how I built the majority of my Mega Drive and Master System collections, for example, because I did not have those systems within the main parts of my childhood. I started out gaming on an Amstrad CPC 464 computer, which was handed to me by my uncle as a hand-me-down at age 3. I would play that here and there, mainly with my father back then because I was very, very young. And then when I was 7, I experienced the Sega Mega Drive around one of my school friends' house, and that absolutely blew my mind. Sonic the Hedgehog, Streets of Rage, Golden Axe, absolutely amazing. Like I said, my mind was blown. These games were amazing compared to what I'd seen on my Amstrad before that. So I would go home, I'd ask my mum, "Mummy, can I have a Mega Drive please?" And she decided to go speak to my uncle. My uncle was only 12 years older than myself. So if I was 7, he would have been 19. So he knew a lot about gaming at the time, and he advised my mother, don't get him a Mega Drive, get him a Super Nintendo instead. It's newer, and in my opinion it's better. So he lent me his Super Nintendo. I had that in my bedroom for a week, play games like Street Fighter 2 for the first time, Super Mario World, Star Wing, and once again my mind was absolutely blown, and I decided that was a system I wanted instead. However, to tide me over until Christmas, my mum got me a second-hand NES. And as good as that console is, it wasn't great for me at the time because it had that bloody white flickering thing. The screen just flickers white every time you try and play a game. So half the time I was just trying to get games to work and they didn't work. So that was really frustrating. But I got a Super Nintendo Christmas that year and the rest was history. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, I had a Super Nintendo. Wasn't long after that I was bought a Game Boy, and the next generation I went for a Nintendo 64 when I was 11 years old, I believe. So Christmas 1997, I got a Nintendo 64. Why am I telling you all of this? Because throughout this entire period, I would buy games and I'd play the crap out of them. I had all the cartridges lined up next to the television set in my bedroom, but I didn't care about the boxes. Didn't give a crap about the cardboard, nor did the majority of other sane children either, I would imagine. But my father, on the other hand, did see value in the boxes. So he would take all my Game Boy boxes, my Super Nintendo boxes, and my Nintendo 64 boxes, and stick all of them in his wardrobe for safekeeping. You see, the difference between me and my father was that he already collected stuff. He collected something what was already surrounded by cardboard. He had a massive, he still has, he's 65 now, he has a massive vinyl collection. He used to do a bit of DJing in his spare time as well, really heavily into music and collecting music as well. So he thought that if I've got all of these games, in theory I should be looking after the boxes for him as well, because he thought that there's a chance that those games might have some value in the future and people might want to do stuff with them. I, on the other hand, thought that was ridiculous. They were just my games, which I played like other children, I would imagine. And yeah, I just accepted that he had all these boxes in his cupboard, and I didn't really care at the time. Like I said, this was between the time I was like 7 and 11 years old. Like, what 7 and 11-year-old cares about bloody cardboard? Not many, I would gather. So more time passes, and I think I get to about 14 years old, and I remember he's got this massive stash of my boxes what I think belong to me, in the back of his wardrobe. So what do? I decide I'll take all of those boxes for myself and I'll keep them in my bedroom instead. So I start looking at these boxes, I start looking through all the manuals and think to myself, these are actually really cool. I really like all the artwork on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a load of sellotape, I'm going to stick sellotape on the back of all of them, and I'm going to stick them all up one by one on my wall. So I've got a whole wall of cardboard Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64 and Game Boy games. So every time I go into my bedroom and go, yeah, they're amazing. I love those games. So yeah, you've got some really today rare boxes up on this wall. Games like Mega Man X2. So if you do a quick eBay search, you will find that a PAL version of Mega Man X2 is worth, I think, in the thousands today, which is quite scary. And then you've obviously got stuff like just like Link to the Past, Mario All-Stars, all the heavy hitters that was on, not all the heavy hitters, but a lot of the heavy hitters were on the system. Mario Kart, blah blah blah. There was a lot. And again, across 3 generations of systems. So you've got Game Boy, Nintendo 64, and Super Nintendo. Obviously, the Super Nintendo ones were worth the most money. But it wasn't just sticking them up on the wall, which was the problem. Obviously, that did damage to the back of the boxes. So obviously, when you pull them off, you would have taken away a lot of the back artwork. But I decided, in my stupid teenage mind, to go one step further than that. And I decided I would take a pair of scissors to each of them and cut the front panels off of them. And then I decided to stick just the panels on the wall, because I thought that looked a little bit nice and make a sort of collage with these boxes that would later go on to be worth thousands upon thousands of pounds. And I believe, just like James Rolfe on the Angry Video Game Nerd, I got all the manuals at some point, and I thought, do you know what would be a really good idea? But just so I have them all simultaneously, I'll get some sellotape, or I think brown tape it was actually, and I'll just stick them all together. Because then, if I want some instructions for a game, I can just flick through all of it. Eventually, by the time we moved house when I was 16, I think we just chucked all of the remains of these boxes in the bin. I chucked this mutilated, congealed mess of instruction manuals together in a bin, and I'll be honest, I didn't really think that much about it afterwards for quite a long time. So 16 years old, let's think about this. So I moved out of the area, I moved away from London, I moved to Essex, and another thing I liked to do during my childhood was collect 1977 Star Wars figures. Again, it was another hand-me-down from my uncle. He'd passed me down toys from his childhood. And when the special editions came out in the cinema, I decided that it'd be a cool idea to expand on that collection of figures he gave me by going around the boot sales. I started doing that in around 1996, 1997. But by the time we got to 2002, the figures had dried up. Like, they had become considered collector's items, and there just wasn't many about. But I did notice, all of a sudden I get Mega Drive games, Master System games, NES games, Super Nintendo games, and games like that, all for, like I said, 50p to £1 each. So I would go around and think, wow, I really wanted a Mega Drive when I was young, but I opted for a Super Nintendo instead. That was my opportunity. So I started buying absolutely loads of them with my pocket money, and yeah, the rest is history in that regard. But then I noticed the Mega Drive games with their big plastic clamshells looked a hell of a lot better on the shelves than my poor Super Nintendo games, which were just cartridges. So you thought, you know what, I'm going to track down the boxes for these again. I'm just going to go on eBay and start buying boxed copies of my old Super Nintendo games. So a lot of them I did, and it wasn't expensive back then, maybe 10 to 15 pounds each. And in fact, it wasn't even about 2002 I was doing that. I think I bothered to do that around, oh god, trying to get my timelines right, maybe 2009, 2010, basically after I'd left university and I was old enough to have a job. So that's when I was buying the Super Nintendo boxes again. But that's when I came to quickly realise that certain games, even by that point, there was no way I could bloody afford. And Mega Man X2 is obviously the one that stood out to most of me out of all the games I mutilated. That is my biggest game collecting regret, was absolutely mutilating the Mega Man X2 box when I was a child, when I had no reason to. My bloody dad, as I said, made the effort to protect all of these games from me, and I went into his cupboard, I took them all and I destroyed them. Just why? Absolutely ridiculous. So, I bought myself a reproduction box to make me feel better about the situation. But when I look at this now, it just makes me sad because it's such a terrible. I'm laughing at it. It makes me sad and amused simultaneously because it's such a terrible reproduction box. I don't know if any of you at home have ever felt a Gizmondo system or a Sky remote, what's about 20 years old, and the back of the plastic, it's not even plastic, it's like the rubber's gone all sticky and horrible. Whatever this has been printed on, it's like that. It's permanently sticky. Look. Permanently sticky, where the paint, or ink I should say, has never seemed to have fully dried on it. So look, it pretty much sticks to my hand. It doesn't look anything like an official box, but at least I can now find Mega Man X2 on my shelf a little bit easier if I want to play it. So there is a silver lining to this whole tale. I guess a lot of people's game collecting regrets can be worse. A lot of people sold off their whole collection, but as for me, yeah, I destroyed things. So surely destroying things in a lot of ways is even worse than selling things. So that just about rounds up this ridiculous story today. If you enjoyed this video, let me know if you want to hear more tales from my gaming past. And in the meantime, I would like each and every one of you who have watched this video today to go down in the comment section below and type out for me your biggest gaming regret. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a collecting regret, because I know not everyone who's watching at home is sad enough like me to have needed to collect a load of old crap. So yeah, let me know in the comment section what your biggest gaming regret is. Maybe there's something you've sold and you regret it, or you've lost it, or like me, you actually were stupid enough to destroy it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would like to make more like this in the future. Let me know. Cheerio. Special additional thank yous go out to Ben Harradine, Carl Johnson, Hale, Paula Lopez, Johnny Holly, Corey Omar Sr., Ron Dinched, Evan Boulder, Azurakai, Ago, Jordan Durant, Ian Boyle, Nick Daniels, Princess Zana, Computer Man, House of a Ted, Matthew Langtree, Matt Fowle, Steve, Justin Wang, Hermes Gonzalez, Manshovel, Sang He, Langston Miller, Vlaming Renee, TOG Driver, Lewis Viant, John Bates, David Barr, Antonio Rodriguez, Synth Spaces, Punk Toast, and everybody else who backs what I do over on the Patreon platform. I appreciate your support very, very much. Thank you. Yeah. Cheerio.